team! Welcome back to Transport Fever 2 on PS5 console. Welcome back to Maratha. Thank you for joining me as always. Mash that like as much as you like. And do subscribe while you are mashing that like as much as you like. And feel free to check out all of the other options available on my channel, such as memberships at my merch store, etc. Now, I wanted to talk to you about a little something that is dear to my heart. Well, it's not actually dear to my heart, it's a pain. At least it has been a pain. And in terms of moving up the map sizes, this is when we get a chance to see if this pain is as painful as it could be, or slightly less painful. And that, as you can see below, is air travel. Now, I've had some issues with air travel in the past, and it might just have been because I was trying to do the wrong kind of air travel, and because the maps weren't big enough. And I've said to you before that certainly in terms of the function of passenger routes, that passengers select a preferred mode of transport, it seems, based on time taken to get there, and that the difference between the two cities. So, for example, Kuala Lumpur is effectively our capital city. So a lot of people want to go to Kuala Lumpur. So you could put up a plane route between Daegu and Kuala Lumpur. But to be honest, the time taken to drive from a private vehicle to Kuala Lumpur and the time taken for a plane to taxi, load up, take off, fly around, turn around, land, load, and then you got to get off again. That sort of would negate that. Possibly Quezon to Kuala Lumpur, yes, fine, but it's really only frequented one way. People are going to want to travel from Quezon to Kuala Lumpur, but generally not in return, believe it or not. Anyway, one of the other reasons that we can have airports, of course, is for moving cargo around. And I have said to you that on these larger maps, we have some situations like Quezon. So we have this goods production down here. They're making goods. And we have Yekaterinburg, who wants goods. But they don't want a smashingly large amount of goods. They want 46. 46 goods, it's not a massive amount. If we run a train from here to there, carrying 46 goods, it will never make money. It just won't. The cost of the train, which is going to be sort of 5 or 6 million, plus the running costs, which is going to be several $100,000 a year, plus the track costs, which is going to be all of the cost there and all of the cost back again. And there's not really anything to take back. Maybe we could stop off and get some machine. No, can't do that. Bricks? No, different kind of transport vehicle. No. So there's no real return run for us that's going to make us a bit of money. But Yekaterinburg do need that kind of thing. So how on earth are we going to get it to them? And I've been having a little look at that and having a little think about that. And I want to share some of these ideas with you because these factor into how do you decide if these things hopefully are going to make you money or not make you money. And one of the things that I want to take a look at first is not goods, but rather fuel. Because the fuel is kind of very much set up and very stable and going very well. And the goods manufacturing is still a little bit in flux. So I want to wait and have a look at the goods. But on this one, we have here oil being refined into fuel, and you can see here we're production at 1,000. We're not even getting enough to keep up, so we probably need to increase the amount of stuff coming in. So we've got room to spare on that. You can see that we've got oil here, we've our fuel here that's being picked up, fuel here that's being picked up, and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of fuel demand, Kuala Lumpur wants a lot. That's great, you're right here. The trucks will service that. That won't be an issue. That will be a piece of cake. Krasnoyarsk wants a lot. So they want 197. That's fine. There's a train line that goes through there, and those trains will undoubtedly make money. I think if we have a look where... maybe we're not even using trains. Maybe we're using trucks for this one. Krasnoyarsk fuel. Let's go and have a look. who is actually the train that's coming off this train station. No, Krasnoyarsk fuel is. So we've got two trains. Ooh, one of them is not in great condition. Let's solve that right now. Let's start you off with that. Thank you very much. Right. So, what did I say? Where were we? What's that going on? Oh, yeah, we're right here. So, Krasnoyarsk fuel. Ooh, right. Okay. Well, we are making money, but just about, which is fine because we are making money, and we might make a bit more money now that we've got a slightly faster train, and we might need to look at. It looks like we're running a little bit short, so we might need to actually add in another train or increase the capacity of those trains, probably. Um, which what have we got? We've got them running sixes, so there's probably room to move them up to let's see, 144 each. So we can move them up to 8. So that moves them up to 144s. So that will hopefully mean that they make a bit of money. So that's fine. That that that's going to be hard to make work from a cargo airplane perspective because you would have to buy a very big plane or be running an awful lot of planes. Now, I have checked, and I don't want to put an airport down again, but I have checked. It's about $500,000, 490,000 to be exact, for the smallest cargo plane, which is the short Sherpa, I think. So it's $500,000 in terms of running costs to get fuel out here and make it make money. You're going to have to make more than that. So if we were to have a look at this line, for example, um, we're currently in profit, which is great. The running costs on this train is 3.4 million a year. They are expensive, right? They are expensive, but they're carrying 144. I think the short Sherpa carries like 30. You'd need, what is that? You'd need 5 of them. So that's 2.5 million a year. And you need to double that. In theory, you could do it, but the problem you've got then is you've got 10 planes in the air trying to offload at Krasno, and you've got to get the stuff from the airport as well. So you're going to have to deal with that. Plus, the airports are like 5 million each. So I'm not sure there's enough of an impetus on that to warrant an airport. What we want is low demand that we're currently servicing with trucks. So, for example, Quezon. Let's go have a look at Quezon. So, Quezon City was 23. Currently, the fuel going to Quezon, I think, is coming in from a truck. And there's the Quezon fuel trucks there. Still making a profit. There's 3 trucks. So there's three trucks going to Quezon. And what is the situation? I I think we're doing okay. We're making a bit of money. We're not busting the hump, but we're doing okay and we're supporting ourselves and everything else. So the Quezon fuel trucks, there's a little bit waiting, but not a huge amount. So we're probably keeping up with that. That is fine. So if we have a look at this line and we say to ourselves, there's 3 trucks. What do these trucks cost us? Well, these trucks cost us 70,668 a year each. To run, right? Plus 424,005. So, in terms of what this line is looking like, we're then saying, okay, so this line here is making us, looks to be, what is that? It's like 200. It's like 750,000. It made like the last time that it made a lot of money, but it's been less. It's picking up more because Quason's getting bigger, and also because we're producing more. So we've got maybe 750,000 to spare on that one, and the transport numbers are picking up to like 50. So we're nudging 50. So we need 2 planes. So that would be $1 million to buy, to replace the 3 trucks. 3 trucks cost 1.2 million, but so it's possibly slightly cheaper from that perspective. In terms of running costs, going to be a little bit. Actually, the running cost is $500,000 a year. Let's just bite the bullet, and I'm going to put this down somewhere so that we can do this. It's a bit of a waste of money as it's a bit of an experiment, but that's all right. I can go back and restart the game. So yeah, so it's 2.9 million to buy and 490,000, and they carry 12. Yeesh. So they carry less than a truck. So you're gonna need more of those than trucks. So we're gonna need 6 trucks. No, 4, because they're saying 50. 4, 48. Let's say 5. So we're going to need 5 trucks at 3 million each. That's 15 million to buy, and it's going to cost us 2.5 million a year to run. So there's a fairly hefty layout on that. Um, and in terms of the running costs and in terms of the profitability that we have said, where's Quason here? We are looking at 750,000 over the running costs of each of these vehicles, which is 70,000. So that's $210,000 running cost. It's going to be more like $211,000 running cost, and we're going to turn that into 2.5 million. I can't see that making money. I cannot see that making money. It's too expensive for what is a small thing that seems to be working reasonably well. Daegu, the Daegu system sound like something out of Star Wars. The Daegu fuel trucks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 of those trucks. So those trucks are costing us $630,000 a year to operate. They are making us what appears to be about 500,000 a year. The volume that they're shifting is dropping, which is not super for some strange reason, and presumably we can take that back up again. But it could be around about 100. So you would need 9 of those planes to service that same thing. Now, bearing in mind when I'm talking numbers like 9 and stuff like that, that the planes go faster. So you may not need that number of planes to arrive at that conclusion. So you might be saying we could do it with 4.5 planes, 4 planes. That's okay, but that's still 1.6 million in terms of your running costs a year, and that's double our current running costs. So the question then is, if you are doubling your running costs, do you have 630,000 in the system? It doesn't look like it, but it could be on the cusp, because if you have a look, this line has made on occasion as much as 1 million. So you could say this one might actually make money. I mean, we still have to put an airport somewhere, and you could put it at this bricks place because there's a cargo area here. So if, for example, you plunked it on the side, if I can get it to spin around and connect to the road, you see, you can get that actually to connect up. So you could run a road here, and then that cargo station could become a cargo hub for the fuel as well that you're bringing in. So that's not a problem. That would kind of keep the emissions. You could probably do a loop road, and you could probably move the airport slightly further out, and then you keep the emissions away from the city. We know that the emissions spread out from the airport, and we know that the flight paths are the worst emitting areas. So you don't want planes flying over a city. So Daegu might just make a bit of money on that. Yekaterinburg, how are we supplying Yekaterinburg? So Yekaterinburg fuel trucks here. One, two, three, four, five, six. So slightly less, slightly less. So more like 360,000. Again, ups and downs, picking up and down. We've been monkeying around a bit with some things, but it could be a million a year. So, and you have to bear in mind that, like I said, the trucks are slow when they get snagged by things, and the airplanes will be faster. And the in terms of the usage, we'd have to supply 45 before the 45 gets used up by the industry. So you might be able to do that with 2 planes. So you don't need the full set of planes. So Yekaterinburg might be okay as a way of doing this. Nagoya, what are we getting from Nagoya? Have we got Nagoya fuel trucks? Are they actually... They're actually taking fuel from the railway. So I think that this railway... No, they're not. We do... Is that right? That's the passenger line. Where's the cargo line? No? There's no... Let me just check that. Oh, I don't believe... Yeah, no, the Nagoya fuel trucks are going very specifically. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 of those. And they are looking to make about 200 or 300,000. I don't think that would make money. That I don't think. Well, plus, where are you going to put an airport on Nagoya? So I don't think you can put an airport on Nagoya. So I think that might be a problem in getting stuff to Nagoya, but we can always talk about that and think about that later. Faisalabad. Well, we got the port system kind of working, but for things like machinery and tools at Faisalabad, there's no easy way to get them stuff. So there's tools at KL. We might be able to run an extra little train line to pick up tools and drop it off, and they might bring tools, but it's kind of expensive for what is a very small product. So that might not be so profitable. And the machines are way up here, and there's no other place that currently produces machines. Again, that's never going to make money. But if we had an airport up here for fuel, for example, we could pick up machines. So then we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We've got fuel and machines. And we can possibly drop those off. So you could have a plane fly fuel up here, drop fuel off, take machines, fly back to Faisalabad, drop machines, fly back here, pick up fuel, and do that kind of a route system. So there are some things that we can do that look like we might be able to make money. Who can we make money with? And then we have these goods down here. And I think eventually it would be goods would probably want to get to... Well, they definitely want to get to Yekaterinburg. And they definitely want to get out to Jakarta. And Krasno. So it looks like we're talking about a possible network of cargo airports. And we want a cargo airport on Faisalabad, a cargo airport at Kuala Lumpur, a cargo airport outside Yekaterinburg, a cargo airport at Jakarta, and a cargo airport possibly between Krasno and Daegu that services Krasno and Daegu, and we might be able to move some things around. So I think what I want to do is I want to go away and have a little think about this in terms of placement, because this also ties into clearing up some of these road and rail networks that I'd like to clear up. So I'd like to look in the future to clearing up some of these road and rail networks to see if we can get like a high-speed commuter going through to Yekaterinburg, as I've spoke about before. We have some lines here that maybe could be condensed and made into other lines. Um, that might require some input or thought. So there's quite a lot of things to go into thinking about this. So why don't you let me go away and have a look at thinking about this? And what I might do is I might start chucking the airports in and start to see how that goes. And then we'll come back and have a look at some of the changes we might be making to the larger infrastructure on the map. Right? Okay, jolly good. Now we know where we're headed. I'll see you there real soon. Ta-ta for now. Right, welcome back. So you saw me get involved with a little bit of faffing about, and some interesting things. So I have put this airport in here. It did shave a rather annoying chunk off my mountain, and I did try and smooth it a little. It hasn't quite exactly worked out how I planned because it's got these big lines in it, but and down here, but. We'll do some of that stuff later in terms of clearing up some of these messes and odd bits and pieces, etc., etc., etc. So, what I've got, sorry, is I put this outside Yekaterinburg, and I put this outside Jakarta, and I've put this outside Quezon, but I want to have a chat to you about that in a minute. And I've obviously got this one out in Faisalabad. So that I think there's nowhere on Nagoya I want to stick an airport as we've discussed. So, but there's something else that is coming across my mind based on what we talked about earlier about tidying up some of the transport lines and obviously the airports and bits and pieces. So this is fine. This is located so that it draws from just this place here, which is perfectly fine. And you'll see we've got 74 fuel waiting to go, which is okay. It's a bit annoying you get this thing every time that you join in on that one. But what have we got here? Well, currently we've got four of these short Sherpas, and we'll have a look at those. So the short Sherpa, and again, I hope this is something we get more of in Transport Fever 3. This is the only small cargo plane we get, right? Everything else here is large. And large airports are super large. So, this is it. We get one 330, and it's like, great, it only carries 12. There doesn't seem to be any other options available for this one, which is a bit of a nuisance, I think. I'm pretty sure that there must be other kinds of small cargo planes that possibly carry more or are faster, or I don't know, whatever the situation is. Anyway, that's what we have going along there. And I suppose if we quickly have a look at that, you can see that we're moving quite a bit, which is perfectly fine. And if we have a look at the can we have a look at the profitability of the line? So you see there that we're making money. So it's sometimes up and down. I had a few issues getting it started, but that's fine. Once we got it underway, we got it underway. So we're underway, and that's fine, and that's making money, and that's moving stuff, and that is doing a fine job. So then what we're doing is we're coming over here, and we are dropping off, which is perfectly fine. That gives us the opportunity to pick up machines and come all the way down here to Faisalabad and drop off the machines and then fly back again. So we're only the only empty bit is the Faisalabad to Kuala Lumpur route. Okay. So that's all we are shifting empty. I'm not sure, and it may be worth something looking into if I add a passenger terminal here, because the Sherpa carries people and cargo. Would it be possible to pick up people for this route? Something to look into. I'll look into that offline and I'll get back to you on that one. So we've got that happening. And Jakarta. No. Wait. What else we got out of here? Out of here we got goods. So we've got the goods flying out of Quezon and going all the way up to Yekaterinburg, which is great. And now Yekaterinburg are getting some goods, which makes them feel awfully happy. So they're getting some goods. They're a little bit on the down, but the goods have just started arriving, so I'm pretty sure they'll start picking up again. So that'll be fine. So they'll start picking up, and that'll be good. And we are also sending goods out here to Jakarta, and Jakarta's picking up goods, and Jakarta's got 28 goods, and they're picking up again, and they're feeling super happy. So that's currently what's going on. I just got them started, and I just want to see how we're doing and how we're going. Now, two things have cropped up in my noggin while I've been doing this. The first is I put this out here because we always have to be conscious of emissions. And if we have a look at the emissions overlay for airports, which is this thing, you can see that you have this great big tail. So each of these airports has a great big emissions profile. And I have positioned these so that they are hopefully just outside the city, so they're not impacting the city. You'll see this radius blends out towards the city, but it's also being carried that way by the rail and the road network. Probably not a lot I can do about that. So, and Faisalabad. Faisalabad's getting a little bit of a tail of emissions. So there you go. But that's what I have to bear in mind. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to shift enough goods out of a small airport, because there are so many people that need it. Krasno, Daegu, Jakarta, Yekaterinburg, Bangkok, Nagoya, um, and Nagoya. Faizabad doesn't want it. So I think eventually we're going to need to have a large airport flying out. The downside to that is obviously I need a large airport flying in, and where and how I can do that, and where does it matter the most. I think possibly I can get a large airport flying in somewhere near Yekaterinburg. So I can have a large airport at one end of the map and a large airport at another end of the map. And then we could say, plonk this large airport out on this big bit of land over here. That would keep the emissions away from Yekaterinburg. And then the trucks could carry the stuff into Yekaterinburg because they don't need much. And trucks and or a small train, depending on how profitable it gets, could then take stuff into Bangkok if they wanted, and that would be fine. Um, and look, you can still run small planes from a large cargo airport. So we can still run small planes to Jakarta. We can still carry on with the short 330. And if it turns out something like a Hercules can make money doing it, then that's fine. We can use something like that, something a little bit larger. But then we have things like Krasno and Daegu and stuff, and they're just maybe a truck might service Krasno okay, but then you've got and Daegu, but they're kind of far away, and there's a lot of stuff happening. Wouldn't it be a good idea to have some kind of a central airport and or rail cargo hub here? That's what I'm kind of thinking about, and that's the thing that kind of crossed my mind. We've got a number of things that we could be shifting or aggregating or moving, and how do we make the most of that? And I think one of the ways to make the most of that is we could put a hub here, because a cargo plane could fly in with enough to supply Krasno and Daegu, and the trucks could just drive it wherever it needs to go, right? And that would be fine. Um, and then you have things like machines. They could come from Yekaterinburg, right? And then there's, could we move stuff to other places by rail that we're already moving? And how do we do that? Like, we've got tools here. Could we change this tools so that they're producing more, so that we're flying tools to Yekaterinburg, and so on? So I think there's room to do that. But in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to look at somehow streamlining the road and rail network first. And that's going to be a fairly onerous task, quite time consuming, but there's going to be a lot of demolition and rebuild. So, for example, we have road supplying here. Okay, we probably, if we did a hub, we'd want bricks. We've also got this rock here we can make bricks, so we could tie that all together. If we ran, and there's a natural railway line here that could even connect here. If we ran a large railway line up this side, and then I think even up this side, we could run the cargo network up this side of the map. We could delete all the cargo network line that's running up and down this side, and then we could make this the high-speed passenger line up this side, and then we have the cargo networks that we feel need to go across. So from the hub here, we could pick up food, and we could run food over here, and we could run food up to Kuala Lumpur. We might even be able to do it with the one line. There's probably not much time difference between running around that outside and that side. And then, there's a variety of logs and things here. So maybe we could sort out somehow getting a central place for logs. Not sure. Some of these things are really conveniently close, so it might not be required to do that. We've got lots of variety of ores and things do we need to move them, and how do we move them, and how do we cover all of that? That would be very interesting. And then once we've sorted out the rail networks, we could sort out doing the road networks a little bit better than they currently are. Because all we need to do is move the rail networks out of the way. So we built a lot of this stuff when we didn't have the money for grand schemes. Now we have the money for grand schemes. We can have a look at grand schemes. And I think one of the first grand schemes I want to do is I want to get a cargo line that runs down this side of our main island and see what traffic we can bring down this side, and how we're going to make that in a neat way. It means it's going to be an awful lot of tracks, but the tracks are going to blend in together. It's going to be a little less reliant on topography because I've got a bit more money. I still need to go around the industries. We're going to care less about the roads because we're going to do the road network later, so that's probably not a problem. And we want to have a look at how we might make things work on an economic basis. So like with rocks and bricks, we might get rock trains that run, up and down twice. So, down this way once, then pick up, then up that way, then down this way, or whatever. That might be just as easy. I don't know. We've got various steels and ores and various other bits and pieces, how we perhaps think about that all ties together and everything else. So that's like my next grand scheme. I don't want to do much more else in terms of airports or air traffic or trying to make things work without tidying up this network. It's a bit convoluted. It's a bit all over the place. We need to have a look at perhaps ways that make it function a little bit neater, and what that might mean, what that might look like. Is there a tidy way to do it versus the kind of higgledy-piggledy way I've done it? And then, because that's probably going to be our major thing, once we've tidied up the cargo, the roads will be easier. We just need to fit the roads in. And we might, in a lot of ways, run the roads similar. There might be roads that run up the cargo line, and go out, and there might be, if we do a high speed line, which is my intention, then there'll be roads that run up the high speed line, and we have elevations and bridges and tunnels and various other bits and pieces, and we make it a little bit more interesting, right? So that's where we're going to. So it's another great big rebuild that's coming. I'll probably try and time lapse some of it. You probably won't want to sit through all of it. There's going to be a lot of demolition. There's going to be a lot of jiggering around. There's going to be a lot of pluses and minuses and everything else that's happening. I suppose one of the first things I'm going to have to look at is I did see some bads through there. So condition-wise, what have we got? We've got some very bad trains and some bad buses. I've tried to stay on top of this as much as I can, and that's it, right? So I need to stay on top of that, which is fine. So we're making 37 million at the minute. We've got 412 million in the bank. So we do have a bit of money to play with. We'll be up and down a lot because we'll be inadvertently breaking things, but I'm going to try and be smarter this time, and not have to keep replacing trains. So I don't want to lose trains. I want to move trains and shifty them around a bit and everything else. We do get, if you do go to the likes of looking to demolish things, it does give you an idea of a refund. Do I want to do that? Is it going to give me a refund? I think it. Oh, it doesn't tell me what I'm going to make, but I do get a refund for demolishing stuff, which is fine. So yeah, it's a big one. It is a big one. I don't exactly know how long it's going to take. It's going to take a little bit of time and probably a few bits of trial and error, and we'll see how we get going with it. And I'll do all of that before I. Well, I'll probably have to figure out the transport hub bit, because we're going to want one of these. We're going to want a modular station, and we might want something quite big. So it's sort of one of those questions. Is we can jigger around with that. Do we want it up this way? Do we want it this way? And we have stuff peeling in like a kind of a spider's web, or do we want to try and have it coming in from the top and looping down through the bottom that way? Um, I kind of think if we're going to have an airport in here, we're going to have it side on. It would be right here, but unfortunately, I can't do that because of this thing in the way, um, which is a bit of a nuisance. So yeah, that would be the perfect spot, right? Exactly where that industry is. Um, and obviously there's an industry in the way. I don't think this would be any better over here. It's a bit more out of the way, but it's totally the wrong side of the map. I'd have to bring everything across to loop it in, and I want everything over here. This is too far up. This is too close to the city. Um, this is right in the flight path of the city. So I've somehow got to shoehorn it all in here, and we got to figure that out and what that looks like. But what I need to do first is I need to clear up some space and move some of these lines, and I might even move some of these lines out and along the peninsula and free up this space here. So there might be lines that run out and then run back in again, which seems a little bit crazy to add that extra distance. I might be able to just bring them up alongside this industry. I might have to take a field or two out. Um, it's because, yeah, it's a problem where I put the station on this industry is going to be a bit of a pain. These are all things that I've got to sit and practice and fiddle and work out, and probably have multiple saves just to see how it goes. Anyway, that is my plan. That is the plan. That is what I plan to be doing. So thank you. So I'm going to be ending this one here, which might be a little bit shorter than I had originally intended. I'd intended to do a little bit more on this video, but I realize now I've got a big job ahead of me, and I probably need to start. It's not really the kind of thing that you want to see me go through, because I kind of need to suck it and see. Once I get started and I get the idea in mind, it'll flow a little bit easier, but there's an awful lot of rerouting train tracks and things. It's going to take a little bit of time for me to do that. So I will bring the next one back to you, hopefully with some of that done. It'll certainly not be all of it, but if I can get this East Coast main line sorted out, for want of a better word, then that would be a very, very, very good start. And then once we've got East Coast main line working, we can think about where we might find efficiencies and cross trades and various other bits and pieces. We've been supplying this place with wood for a long time and never made any use of that. Um, we could be bringing cargo ships back here to a little port and dropping off timber and storing timber here, right? And we could have a little timber store, and we could be shipping timber to a few places where they might need it, right? So that might be an option. These are all things that I'm thinking about, right? Thinking about. We're moving into finalizing the map towards the end game, which is tidying everything up, getting some massive economies of scale, and trying to make things flow. We want to get these towns and cities up to big numbers. Where are we at currently? We've got one in the thousands, and we've got a whole bunch of others which are not even close. We've got Daegu, which is close. It would be good to see some of these cities get quite an awful lot bigger and take up an awful lot more space. I will, however, caution you, just by the by, the game is getting a little bit laggy, and I've had a couple of crashes. So there's going to be a finite limit to how big we can get this before it starts becoming too much of an issue. So we'll just bear that in mind, okay? There may be a point beyond which we decide it's no longer fruitful to go forward because it's just getting too laggy and too problematic. And if that is the case, we'll call it there and look at something else, okay? So there you go. So stay tuned. I'll be back. I don't know when I'll be back, but I will be back with something. It's going to be a little bit involved to build it, but I'll make it one of my priorities to get it done. And yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. An awful lot of people are tuning in to watch this. I'm really excited to see the numbers, which is really good. Could do with a few more likes. Wouldn't say no to those, and or a few more subscriptions would be really good. That would be fantastic. And if you're already a subscriber and you're finding this enjoyable, what about a super thanks? And if you're not a subscriber, what about a super thanks? And if you are, what about membership? And so on and so forth and such like. And thing. Thank you very much. I will get back to you when I have done some changes. Until then, ta-ta for now.